Welcome to Dustwind Resistance Madman Review. Review key was provided, but as always it doesn't affect my opinion about the game in any way. Dustwind Resistance is something like Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel with real-time with pause combat focused gameplay, with mission to mission structure. So not an open world. There's also no quests, it's combat only. Most important thing to note before starting the review is that the game was played on PlayStation 5, which is going to be a major influence on the final score, due to how the game plays on console compared to its PC counterpart. I haven't played the game on PC, but I can imagine some of the console issues are non-issues on PC. Beaten the game on hard after 17 hours or so. There is also a very hard mode that I haven't tried. After beating the campaign, game also offers skirmish mode, where we can compete against AI in team deathmatch, capture the flag and similar style matches next to solo missions. Game price is $20 or euros. Recently I've changed the review format in a way that categories going from best to worst are now in the video. So I'll go from what the game does best to what the game does worst, with all the categories in between. If a category is missing, like subpar, mediocre or good, then it means I couldn't find anything that would fit into that specific category. Let me know if this format works for you. So let's get started with what Dustwind Resistance does best, you clumsy bastards. Not the best out of all games ever, but the best aspect of Dustwind Resistance. It's the overall fun factor potential. Fun is subjective, so it's not really a valid thing to mention in the review, but some games like Dustwind Resistance focus entirely on creating a fun experience. What do I mean by that? Well, economy, for example, is a non-factor. After the first two missions you have enough money to buy whatever weapon, armor and as much ammo as your heart desires. No scrimping, saving, preserving, it's all out all the time. Each mission has tons of enemies, most of them cannon fodder, so kill count is very high. Combine that with practically unlimited ammo and quite a few weapons ranging from 50 cal snipers, pulse rifles, minigun, bazooka, couple SMGs, couple assault rifles, shotguns, light machine guns, couple grenade types, and the result is pure tactical action. Probably the biggest fun factor is creating traps for enemies. Not just placing mines, but kiting enemies into a room where every enemy is going to get smoked by other party members attacking from all sides. Then sniping enemies from stealth. Clearing rooms with silenced burst weapons. It never gets old. Another important factor that many games overlook is the kill satisfaction. Something old Fallout games did at an incredibly high level, and Dustwind Resistance follows in those footsteps. Blood and gore is ever present, as there are body parts flying all over the place when stepping on a mine, getting shredded to pieces from minigun fire, knocked down from nearby grenade explosions. Truly nice job. However, a big downside is that enemies have almost no reactions to getting hit aside from the finishing strike when that animation happens. Such a shame. Especially problematic when getting used to the game and not realizing that we are hitting an enemy or even shooting in that general direction. So hit feedback is bad, but kill satisfaction is great. Easy economy, tons of enemies to kill in many fun ways, high kill satisfaction bring fun potential of Dustwind Resistance to very high. It's the game's best aspect, because everything is done in a way to force the fun stuff happening. Even though that fun is often present, don't expect it to be at a high level all the time. I'll explain more in further categories. If you don't find things that you can see on the screen in this video even remotely fun, this game is not for you. Simple as that, because there isn't much more to it. Now we get to a decent to good category. In this one I would put a character leveling progression system. It's a much more simplified and combat-oriented Fallout system that works nice for a game like this. Weapon categories are divided into melee, light, heavy, and that's it. Upgrade the one you want for that character and continue to upgrade it as the game progresses to be able to be more effective in later missions. Then typical health upgrade, health regen, carry weight, evasion, resistances, movement speed with 3 skills, mechanics, traps and medicine. So why have I put such a progression system into a positive aspect of the game when it's very simple and typical? Reason are the perks. There are quite a few that offer meaningful upgrades with the negative perk system that upon choosing something negative, player gets more points to invest into positive upgrades. For example, I've chosen clumsy negative perk and after that realized that negative perks trigger all the time. Way too often. My clumsy character was tripping over every few meters, which is way too often, but on the bright side it's funny to see stealth-focused character infiltrating rooms with silenced assault weapon just to trip over his own feet and being detected in the process. I would definitely reduce the frequency of negative perks like clumsy triggering. Balancing is pretty good considering the bad AI and huge enemy numbers. Difficulty is pretty consistent throughout the game. There's quite a few enemy types that require different bullets and weapons to take care of, so that's an additional strategy layer pretty common for these types of games. That's all from the positives. Now we get into negative categories, because I don't know what would be put into mediocre average. So quite a few things go into subpar category. PlayStation 5 controls are the biggest downside of playing Dustwind Resistance on consoles compared to PC. Controlling 4 party members at once is a mess on consoles. Small and quick movements are quite annoying to make. Setups before the fight are fine, and thankfully tactical pause is available, which helps tremendously. But in the end, controls are something most are going to wrestle with on consoles. For example, real-time aiming with right stick often interferes with weapon switching that is done by pressing the right stick. Only with tactical pause on we can kick nearby enemies, but in real time that same input is for reloading. Also, changing movement speed is quite strange. To be honest, I'm still not sure if one click is walking and two are running, or is it connected to something else besides the running speed stat. I know about the special dash, which is something different, so not talking about that, just regular movement. On top of all that, the game lacks polish, which is most obvious during combat when things fall apart. For example, with clumsy perk often happens if you're reloading or switching weapons and fall down in the middle of those actions, the character completely bugs out and doesn't want to attack at all. Pathing is atrocious, as there are no formation options on console, or I might have missed that tutorial completely, so characters that are not leaders of the group can end up going wherever, triggering fights, mines and whatnot. Another issue is that there is no tutorial or tip screen so that learned things can be rechecked. I know they were mentioning formations, but I've never seen an option to arrange formation. Turning auto attack on and off is also something I have no clue how to do even after beating the game. These types of things like pathing issues, order reissuing, glitchy movements that wrestle control out of the player's hands are frequent and severely diminish the fun factor that the game tries to create. There are also polishing problems in graphical aspects too, like the frequent screen tearing that I couldn't get rid of. So overall polish of the game is subpar. I get that making such a game work on consoles is not an easy task. While some ideas are good, others aren't, but the most frustrating thing is all the wrestling with the game so it does what you exactly want. I get the difficulty of such tasks, which is why it's not going into a bad category. By the time I finally figured most things out, the game ended. For $20 or euros, it's not that big of a deal that the game is short, but by the time I managed to do things better and understand most of the inner workings of controlling the game, I was already halfway done. Build mode had so much potential, but instead goes into subpar category because it's underutilized. In missions where the player attacks, there's no build mode. Only in 2 defense missions and in very limited capacity. Put 2 turrets down, 1 barricade, and that is the maximum use of the build mode. If build mode wasn't in the game, it wouldn't affect the game negatively at all. Honestly, if they've removed it entirely, many people wouldn't even bat an eye. Only saving a grace for build mode is if it's far more used in skirmish scenarios. Now we get to the bad category. Story is shit. Raiders suddenly attack. Why? They were bored, I guess. No other deeper reason. Just to enslave and kill. Although how would they enslave if they've killed most people in the game already? Then the survivors fight back. That's the story. Dialogue is bad too, so nothing to really keep you interested. Characters are almost all completely bland. Enemy AI is quite bad in campaign. Whole reason why most cheap but fun strategies work is because of the dumb AI. Game tries to fix that with enemy numbers and enemy type diversity to increase the difficulty, which definitely helps, but AI can't help itself. Enemies throw grenades beneath their own feet trying to hit the player, don't even react to shoot upon seeing the player, movements bug out frequently. Most enemy strategy is usually just to bum rush the player except for snipers and stealth types. Definitely takes that high tactical element out of the window, but overall dumb AI doesn't hurt the game that much in the end. Developers knew that AI is bad, so they fixed it with quite a few enemy types and a huge number of enemies on the map. Time for the final verdict. Dustwind Resistance is occasionally a very fun game as it doesn't try for typical tactical action you can find in similar games. It's fast, satisfying, doesn't waste time with non-combat stuff, has decent character progression that fits the game, but campaign is quite underwhelming with bad writing, way too short, enemy AI is bad, build mode never really gets going in the campaign, controls are a bit of a mess with buggy movements and attacks. Very difficult game to score. On PC I would have given it a higher score because of, I would assume, much easier controls, but on PlayStation 5 as the game is at the time of this review is a 5 out of 10. Mediocre product that has high fun potential at times. Potential score would be 6 when the game receives more layers of polish. Patreon, subscribe to our merch in the description if you're interested in that sort of stuff, and thanks for watching.